Well, good morning. This is Tampa Home Talk, and yes, we do have an exciting 2 hours lined up. We might even go a little bit sideways from the outline this morning, but that's okay. So
I love going sideways.
Let's start with the number, shall we?
Did you know Sideways is the name of a wine movie?
No, because I don't watch TV, remember?
Well, it's an old movie, but yeah.
So it's interesting. I'm always curious to know, because I look at these once a week, if it's really like what I'm feeling in the market, right? Like, we have seen some crazy stuff in the market. We've gotten a lot of offers accepted in the last week, and we've had some new listings come up, and stuff is literally just flying so quick.
I mean, yeah. We're seeing a dip in new listings this week. That's a little alarming to me.
People are not wanting to sell. I mean, they're holding on to it. I think the fear is they can't find a suitable replacement property, which could be the case.
Yeah, I mean, in that instance, and I can fully believe that if you feel like a lot of people, they want to sell to move closer to their work, to closer to schools. They want to sell because they want to make some money, but you got to live somewhere. So if you're selling because you want to make money, unless you're going to rent for a while, you then have to just buy something else. So I can see that.
I tell you what, we have some interesting conversations too. I had this gentleman that I talked to last night, and the company he works for does a lot of like DOT contracts. And so, you know, when he lived there, he was like way out in the country, and it's kind of like building up around him. So it's just, and that's usually how it starts, right? With somebody that wants to sell, they have a thought and they're like, a little too built up. I'm really not loving this anymore. I'm still making my mortgage payment. So I was talking to him with his job, because they do DOT contracts. He's working in Hernando right now and traveling all the way down to like south of Valrico. But other times he could be in Manatee or Polk. He's had stuff in Orlando.
That's pretty far to drive from Hernando.
Yeah, so literally they could put him anywhere. And so we started chatting a little bit, and I said, so what's your plan? Like, what's your thought? Like, if you do sell this home, where do you want to go? And it was interesting, because what I would do is probably not what a lot of people would do, but what he said is probably exactly what I would do. And he said what his thought was to get like a travel trailer and literally just go park it for however many weeks or months close to wherever he is going to be working, so that he doesn't have that crazy commute. And now think about it, if he sells and he gets all this equity, he's going to be able to sit on quite a bit of cash. His housing expenses will reduce by way more than half, probably be a quarter of what they are, because he's only paying, to rent a lot in a RV park.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lifestyle job. I knew someone that they inspected amusement park rides for a living. He was a retiree, but it became a lifestyle job in which he actually owned a trailer, just like you're saying, and he would take it to different cities and do his inspections all throughout Florida. It was perfect for him. I mean, it suited his needs because he got to see the state. He had low housing costs, and his house, he took it with him.
When our kids were younger, we did a lot of camping. We traveled around a lot in our camper. We even took it north, right, when there's no one in the winter months, when there's no one in those parks. And literally, we would go to check in, and there would be no one in there to even pay. There would literally be a note that just says, we work on the honor system, leave a check for the number of days that you are here. Now, it's been a little while since my kids were that little, because the youngest is 14, but now it'd probably be like Venmo or PayPal us the money, right?
Yeah, it'd be all electronic. I remember one time, this during my honeymoon, this is going back a couple of years, but during our honeymoon, there was actually one hotel that we were staying at in Munich, and we needed to catch a train before the front desk people were there, so they basically just asked us to leave the rest of the payment up the front. It was pretty funny. Yeah,
I mean, I guess some places still operate the honor system, and the interesting thing is, I think, looking at that, I would say they probably have less issues than, maybe places where they're even managed. I can't imagine someone would actually, maybe there's people that take advantage of that, but I think most people would not. They'd just say, okay, yeah.
I was a little upset that morning, though. I would have preferred to have a later train and gotten that the breakfast spread, because the breakfast spreads in Europe are pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's not like here where it's a couple of frozen Danishes that are reheated.
Or the chains that say, we offer you a hot breakfast, and it's just like a hard-boiled egg.
Or a waffle. Yeah.
Or a waffle. Yeah, make your own waffle.
Yeah, like they're carved up breakfasts for
sure. And they're not even Stroop waffles. They're not even those really thin Danish waffles you slice in half and put chocolate in the middle.
Oh, yeah, no, none of that,
for sure. The Stroop waffle. Yeah, it's amazing because the Stroop waffles, they're already like paper thin, and then they cut those suckers in half.
I wonder how they fit them in there.
And then they put either caramel or chocolate or both in the middle, and they sandwich it together. It's a beautiful breakfast sandwich.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Really good. And they put some meat in the middle, right? Meat and eggs?
No. It's literally just the chocolate or the caramel.
Yummy.
It's a breakfast dessert.
So let's at least go through the numbers, even though we're down. So the number
We're down. Well, we're down in
new
all but
listings,
one count.
yeah.
We're down in new listings. We're at 867. So, I mean, our peak was around 1,100, 1,200 new listings in a given week. This is probably the lowest we've seen in quite some time.
So even though we've been looking at this week over week, I still think it's just absolutely astonishing that the number of sold properties is 1,155, yet the number of pending properties
is 1,890.
Almost 1,900 properties.
So here we have one of the lowest weeks of new listings, but one of the highest weeks we've had in the past half year of pendings.
Yeah, and I tell you, we are seeing just, we talked about this earlier, Leo, about people accepting, and I had this whole conversation with someone that's looking to sell that has just a ton of deferred maintenance. They're like, we don't want to fix the roof, and we don't want to fix the plumbing that's original, and we don't want to fix all this stuff, and our kitchen's old. I'm like, now's the time to sell, really, and get a great price for that property because, in a normal market where there's an abundant supply of homes, buyers are going to probably pick one that a seller needs to unload, and it's already updated, and it's, has all those major components up to date as well.
We got to be careful. I mean, I have, and it's not just this market. So I have a friend that's in Arizona right now, and we have a similar market right now in Phoenix that we do here. Mm-hmm. And there was a home that they were interested in buying, and I looked at the estimate, and I looked at it, and I'm like, well, one, it's overpriced, and two, there's a death trap in the backyard, and three, the roof needs to be replaced. Amazing what you can tell from the postings.
What was the death trap in the backyard?
So I guess the gentleman built his own she shed or man cave. It was stucco, it was frame, it was stucco touching the ground. Basically, one side of it, he never finished the stucco and painted it. The roof was leaking, so there were stains in the ceiling. And I'm like, this thing is going to fail an appraisal. So and they're asking too much. So a buyer's going to run into the following issues. It's not going to appraise high enough, and then it's going to fail the appraisal for these obvious defects. And sure enough, it was on the market. It was off the market within a weekend because they got full ask. And then it went back on the market.
Because the inspections came back.
And then it went off the market. So this is the third time it's been on the market. The sad part is the seller's agent isn't doing a good job. They're not convincing this buyer to either lower their price or address the issues of why all these buyers are walking. And that's the situation we're in now. We have these bad selling agents that aren't coaching their clients correctly.
Right.
Because they say, well, it doesn't matter. I can throw my house up on the market and I'll get an offer. I'll get 70 offers. Well, yeah, that doesn't mean it's going to close.
Well, in a normal market, yeah, but this is a weird market that we're seeing. I mean, it really is. I look at the comps. I mean, we had one that was listed. It wasn't even our listing. It was our buyer. They're relocating here. And so they've been in, offers on a few properties. But basically, it was listed at, I think, 410. And it ended up going under contract at 444.
Wow.
So, and that's with an appraisal waiver. But it's beautiful, 19 offers, So the good ones really are getting multiple offers. So if you have the ability to put a few dollars in it to make sure that mechanically it's in really good shape, but also it shows well, right? And it's updated aesthetically, you're going to get top dollar.
Yeah, and I feel like right now, I know we often talk in the past, it hurts when you renovate a kitchen and a master bathroom and then immediately sell your home, but you do that to get more value. And then it also hurts when you find out you don't really capture the amount of money. Like you put $1,000 in your kitchen, you might only legitimately appraise 800 of that.
It's way more than 1,000, but
well, I'm just using really small numbers.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the average kitchen remodel right now, I would imagine.
I'm trying to just really simple for the purpose of the point.
Yeah, but what are you going to do for $1,000, really? Let's just be real about it.
Okay, so you're remodeling your kitchen for $10,000, and you might only see $6,000 come back in that appraisal.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, so what's happening now is people are putting the $10,000 in their kitchen and seeing like 15. So even they're not seeing it on the appraisal side, but they're seeing it on the ask side.
Yeah, and my take to that is if you got the money to redo it while you're living in it. Enjoy it. Enjoy your kitchen remodel.
Yes, enjoy these remodels because you'll get your value out of it. Speaking of which, when we come back, why don't we do the book?
I thought you wanted to do it in segment 3.
We don't actually have a our guest is still
okay,
in
we'll
my
do it in segment 2. All right, so Leo, we're going to take a break right now.
Mimi, I need the book.
He's going to get the book, and he is going to speed read it during the break.
And then I'm going to answer Katrina's trick questions about her book.
Well, no. First, we're going to let you tell us what the book is about.
Well, it's a relationship book.
And then I'm going to ask you some questions. All right. Listen, our author number, if you've got questions or if you would like to check out the book, let us know. 813-377-2775. Are you... Time is up.
Okay.
You're halfway through skimming.
I'm only halfway through
I'm impressed. You're literally like touching every page.
Okay, well,
I've seen you speed read some other stuff, and
I'm taking a little bit more time here.
So I see you like when you speed read other books, Leo. You're like zipping through them. You don't I've never seen you touch every page like that.
Okay, so give me about another 45 seconds, and I will talk while we do this, and then you can start asking me questions.
Okay, we're going to give him 45 seconds. Have you read the book yet, Pat? Do you have any questions off of your head that you think you want to add to the list for Leo?
Let me think a little.
Okay.
I want to get a good one.
Yeah.
So we already gave away one of the first ones in the early chapters about where my first job was.
That was at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I was 14 years old. My first job was at Chick-fil-A, and I talk about Mr. Bill in the book, the guy that gave me the opportunity for my first job. And actually, there's a reason why I mentioned Chick-fil-A in the book. What's that reason, Leo?
I was actually impressed with Chick-fil-A. At first, I saw the number, and I wasn't that impressed. But then I compared it to where other businesses were in the area.
Oh, the stat numbers? Is that what you're talking about?
The stats number. I mean, they have a 91.7% accuracy. And it's amazing because other businesses are like 86% accuracy or 81% accuracy. And now you think about it. You think about Six Sigma for a while, which is I do something 1,000 times, I want it to be correct 999. And the fast food industry, they take into account the fact that you're not able to do that because you're dealing with lower skilled people. You have to have more systems in place. So they just want
in time, speed.
In speed, you're doing it really fast. It's called fast food for a reason. So they only want 91.7% accuracy, which was amazing to me because you'd think that number is really low, but that's like an industry benchmark that people are trying to get to. So that's one of the reasons why Chick-fil-A is so successful. Also, Chick-fil-A's got this interesting, they've got the religious aspect that a lot of people don't realize, but
right.
they're closed on Sundays. They value the loyalty. They value a bunch of attributes that are really, and it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, the attributes of loyalty, the attributes of good customer service,
right.
the attributes of meeting or exceeding expectations. These are good attributes.
That was the point of bringing them up in the book, right? It wasn't about just my first job and the work ethic, which was part of it. But the remaining part of bringing them up in the book was about just that their order accuracy is substantially higher than other, drive-through carriers. And I mentioned different things in the book, like, did you ever notice you don't have to ask for a straw or a napkin? They're always in the bag. And your order is almost always right. It's got a really high accuracy rate.
Yeah, I also like with certain chains is like on the bag itself, like you go to the biggest chain in the world, McDonald's. On their bag itself, and you have to look for it because you, the consumer, aren't supposed to see it, but it tells you exactly how many items can go in the bag. And it doesn't say, place 1 burger and 3 fries in the bag. It shows a picture of a silhouette of a burger and a silhouette of fries. So they could use these bags in any market with any language.
Yeah. Whether the person can read or not.
It's basically this small bag will hold 2 burgers and 3 things of fries at most, and if not, you got to grab a different bag. That's if you're going to try and put more than one of those items in it, and that's interesting about McDonald's. And then you have other. This goes beyond the marketing. Like Burger King's like, we're going to flame grill our stuff. Not really. That's just their marketing. But this is what McDonald's and Chick-fil-A are doing behind the scenes. It's behind the scenes that's going to make or break the company.
Well, McDonald's is known for their systems, right? Like Ray Kroc is all about like, I'm not making the best hamburger, but it's about, the efficiency and the systematization. That's why someone buys a McDonald's franchise.
Yeah, and the other interesting part about McDonald's is for a while they were outsourcing their drive-through. When you came up to the drive-through and you spoke to someone, you were actually speaking to someone in a call center.
What?
There was a lot of backlash against that. But the sad part is the orders were more accurate.
That is really crazy.
They were a lot more accurate when the person at the other end of the walkie-talkie was someone in a dedicated environment and all they were doing was taking orders. Because when you pull up to that drive-through window, the person taking your order is running around prepping stuff,
Right.
is swiping
They're
your
doing
card.
more stuff, yeah.
They're multitasking. And I always say if you want to do a bunch of things poorly, then specialize in multitasking. If you want to do one thing really well, do one thing really well. And that's what McDonald's tried to do, but there was so much backlash about that, and partially because they outsourced it overseas.
Right.
But
And they want those jobs are supposed to be dedicated for the high school kid, right? Trying to earn gas money.
But it was amazing. McDonald's actually got a lot more accurate, more than Chick-fil-A when they did this.
That's
but
cool.
People were willing to sacrifice quality, accuracy, and their sandwich because they didn't want to talk to someone. They didn't,
another country?
They didn't even want to talk to someone in a different city. They wanted to actually interact with the high schooler, the McJob, and it was just amazing to me during that study.
All right, so what's your take on the book? Tell me what it's about.
It's about selling through relationships.
That's all you got? It's on the title. It's plastered on the front page, on the front of the book.
It's interesting. You outline the different parts of the relationship. You outline like first dates, dating wild across the place. You even go into makeup sex and a whole bunch of other things. So the book is an allegory on relationships, relationship building, and why that's going to be successful for your company more so than cold calling. So this would be in contrast to a book I read by a real estate agent in Brandon, who was by the name of Joe Cole, who basically wrote the book on cold calling to make your business successful.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Mine's the polar
and his
opposite.
book is really good too for different reasons.
So did you catch what I said in there about cold calling? Did you find that in your speed read?
I missed that part of my speech.
Okay. So what I talk about in the book as it relates to cold calling is you can start a business that way, and it's a great way.
You start, but you can only do that if you have a strong foundation of your own business and you know your business really well.
Right, but the point is, and you can do that. I guess the difference is, do you want to like the people that you serve, right? Or do you want to be more of a transactional person and, just on to the next?
Well, you can use cold calling, though, as a way to build relationships. It's just cold calling gets your foot in many doors. And it kind of reminds me, and I think you quote a Bible verse in here, Matthew 7:7.
It's like the only one in the whole book, and you found it. Good job.
That verse is actually split into three parts. It's ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall open.
Right.
Which then leads into Matthew 7:8, which is basically saying that all these things happened. But cold calling is the third part of Matthew 7:7, in that knock and the door shall open. And that's where cold calling is successful. That's opening a bunch of doors. Your piece of quoting Matthew 7:7 here tends to be more along the lines of ask and you shall receive and seek and you shall find, which cold calling is the third part.
You also, even if your relationship's selling, you have to ask for the order. It's still sales.
Yeah, you have to ask before you can receive. So It's a very important Bible verse. I was expecting to find a Bible verse in here with this Chick-fil-A beginning.
Oh, really? Where are you now?
I was looking for it.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I wouldn't have expected you to say that, but
and again, I'm not preaching religion. It's just sometimes in religious text you will have very important ethics and morals that can help you in your day-to-day life. And Matthew 7:7 is a pretty important one. When you ask and you shall receive.
Well, the point I think behind Matthew 7:7 is you're going to find whatever you're looking for, right? Whatever you're looking for, good or bad, you're going to find it.
Yeah, as long as you knock on the right doors.
Yeah,
or knock on the right doors or the enough doors. Yes, go ahead, Pat.
I have one of two. You can answer either one of them. What was one of her disappointments, and what did she say about me in the book?
Oh, she said she loved you in the book. You helped build her radio show. She talks about how the radio show formed in 2013, and you were helpful in getting that off the ground.
Is that true, Katrina?
I'm trying to think of what chapter you're relating to, because I do talk about you in the book, I think, in more than one place.
That was one of the...
I'm wondering if it's the same thing I'm thinking of. You say it, Pat.
Oh, no. I'll keep that a secret so he cannot find that. He's got to find it in there. But what about a disappointment?
I mean, in Chapter 7, she talks about rebounds, and I believe she talks about disappointment in that chapter about rebounds. The breakups and the rebounds. So breakups are going to be because of a disappointment about not looking at the warning flags of what's happening in the downward spiral. So I believe in that breakup/rebounds area, she's talking about the disappointment.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
So, okay, I've got one here. This is one that I pulled, and let's see if you took it from the book. What do leaders, relationship, and marriage all have in common? Especially being that I have all these titles, right, around...
Oh, you talk a little bit about the balance. So I believe that's going to be a counterbalance.
That's right, counterbalancing the weaknesses. That's pretty
so
good. I know, he is. All right, so why don't people commit to people in business?
Well, there's two main reasons you talk about in the book of why people don't commit to people in business. The first is going to be they just don't trust them. And I think the second reason plays into the first. You don't trust them because you're not communicating enough with them.
Yeah, that's right. Not lack of communication or unanswered
so
questions.
why don't we continue these questions after the break? I'm going to do another skim through the break because I didn't get the second half of the book fully skimmed.
Okay, so now you know my book is not ghostwritten, right? You went slower than...
I had to go slower because it wasn't ghostwritten. But how am I doing on the questions?
Pretty good.
Hey,
Pretty
this
good.
is a 4-minute break, so go ahead and pick up A Tale of Two Cities, and we're going to question you after that.
I already read that book, and that's one of my favorite books. So go ahead and you can question me. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It's a good allegory for not only Britain and France, but we're gonna. Here
Yeah,
comes
this
the break.
is Tampa Home Talk. We'll be back. Stick around.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. Leo Kane here with Beryl Engineering and Inspection. I am joined by a well-renowned author, Katrina Madewell, radio show host of Tampa Home Talk.
And we made Amazon's bestseller
And
book for new release.
So we have a Selling Through Relationships in my hand, Why Cold Calling Sucks and Relationships Win. This book is an Amazon bestseller, and our 8 o'clock hour is dedicated to the topics and themes in this book and how it can make your business, or you, the person, a better person. Also can tell you a little bit more about relationships and how not to be in a rut in these relationships.
Yes, I do some relational stuff related to the book as it relates to business, but I think they go hand in hand, right? They go hand in hand.
Yeah,
Businesses and relationships. So why does hiring the right who matter? So I talk about that a little bit in the book.
I mean, anytime you're a business and you're hiring employees, it's all about adding people that fit culturally with the rest of the business. If they don't fit culturally in with your business, and this is dangerous with small companies, you, the business owner, want that accuracy. You want to exceed expectations. And you have a team of 5 people. And then you hire someone that doesn't share your vision when it comes to culture. One, they can start to sway the other people underneath you. But 2, they're now 20% of the company. So when people see your new hire, even though you're preaching culture this and quality and loyalty and dependability and interaction with customers, they're not doing that. That's 20% of your business.
Yes. Well, the loyalty, I mean, the vision is everything. You got to start there. And I think that's where a lot of businesses fail, right? I mean, Michael Gerber in the E-Myth talks all about why small businesses fail.
Well, I think small businesses fail to a large extent, and it goes beyond the E-Myth. I think and I was talking with Katrina about this before the radio show. A lot of small businesses fail because in reality, people haven't started a business; they've created a job for themselves.
Yeah.
And when you create a job for yourself, eventually all business owners will say, and I've heard every single business owner a lot of them, not every single, but I've heard a lot of them say, I'm at a point in my business where I can make more money flipping burgers. And that's a common phrase. I can make more money flipping burgers. And this relates back to...
And work less hours.
And they work less hours doing it. So if you never get out of, I've created a job for myself, eventually you burn yourself out. If you put a team underneath you and you realize through a business coach, a business coach will challenge you. A business coach is going to poke holes in your current plan.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to challenge you. They're going to make you move forward.
They will tell you what you might not want to hear, but you need to hear it.
But a business coach is eventually going to tell you, you can make more money by hiring people. And it's going to be counterintuitive to a small business owner because they're like, every single dollar I make goes back into the business. Or I need to live as well. But yeah, when you hire someone, that frees up your time to do more of what a business owner should be doing. A business owner should not be 80, 90% production. A business owner should be 50, 60% out there selling through building relationships, making those key business partners. I mean, Katrina, you go in this book and you talk about you can, and I've heard this from other people before, determine someone's net worth. You just look at the people, their core 3 to 5 people they surround themselves with. And if you have created a job for yourself, you don't have 5 like-minded individuals to discuss business and to better yourself. You've created a job for yourself, and that's why a lot of small businesses fail.
You know, going back to your point about a coach, too, I think there's a lot of value in that, because I personally have more than one, right? Business coaches for different things.
Well, you also have a voice coach.
Well, not anymore, but I probably should go back to her. Yeah.
She did wonders.
She said she didn't think I needed her anymore, but my voice has been a little bit...
Yeah, after 2 hours. I mean, she's taken you a long way. It used to be like by this time in the first hour, you were a little bit crackly. Now you can make it almost 2 hours. She vastly improves.
Definitely make it 2 hours. Yeah, she definitely helped me a lot. I don't, I really probably need to go see a GI doctor, but to see what's going on in the stomach.
I don't underestimate the power of a strong speech language pathologist, and maybe because I'm married to one,
That's exactly what it is.
I see more about it, but it's just amazing. We'll be watching a Netflix documentary series on something, and it'll deal with some kind of psychology, and she'll be like picking up on stuff I'm not even registering just because of her background in communications. It's like, how do people form language, and at what point does language solidify, and how to teach younger people 2 languages, and like the why of all that happening, she fully understands, and it's just fascinating. I mean, it's a big mistake that we do, that we wait till people are in secondary school to teach them Spanish or Chinese.
Agreed.
They need to learn it
when they're
much younger, because when they can actually absorb it all faster.
I'll tell you, I remember, and this was like, no secret, I'm way older, a bit older than you and Adam, but I remember, like, back in the day, like, PC wasn't even around. Like, when I was a kid, the Commodore 64 was around. And my uncle he was an engineer by trade, like you, and he also he had, like, a computer programming background. So he could program computers to do all kinds of stuff. And so when I was young, he did this whole, I was having a hard time with like prepositions, pronouns, verbs, like learning all that. So he created this whole program for me to learn it. And it was so fun. And then he created another one for me to learn Spanish. And I still remember, I was young, but I still remember like almost everything that I learned on that program.
That's awesome. I really liked Rosetta Stone. And I guess it still exists, but they taught you language differently than... There's the version of language where you say, I want an apple. And then you see the apple, and then they say in Spanish, quiero un manzana, or una manzana. But Rosetta Stone takes it from a different standpoint. They don't want you to translate. They just want you to associate that apple with manzana, and you're not thinking and translating. You're just speaking a new language. And that's a better way to learn the language. So if you have a game out of it, and it's interactive like the one your uncle created.
I was young, right? That's part of the point. I was young, and I could basically, like, you just retain that stuff, I think, better and differently when you're young.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the brain is developing. Sections of the brain aren't formed yet fully. It's able to learn and process, and it's all about adaptability at that point. When you're young, you have to adapt. You have genetic memory, and then you have taught memory, and the 2 of those go hand in hand.
So, all right, I'm going to give you another one. See if you caught this one. So, you've asked a customer a different, like, difficult type of question that they don't know how to answer right away, and now there's awkward silence. What should you do about it?
I don't actually remember reading that in the book, but that is a standard business thing of you just shut up and you let them process.
Yeah.
So while I don't remember reading it in the book, so when you ask, it's like in sales, you ask for the deal. And then there's an awkward silence. They often say in sales, the next person who talks loses. So if you end the awkward silence, you lose. If they end the awkward silence, they lose the war of the sale, basically. So, like I said, I don't remember reading in the book, but that is the business answer. And knowing you and your business acumen, I would expect you to have the same thing.
So this one, it totally relates to stuff in the book. And this was a whole running joke with me and my team leader. But I have a line item on the budget that you can't fully say, but it's called MSR. Did you catch what that was?
Yes. And it's making something right.
Yep, that's right.
It's important to have... And that's a good point. Even with Chick-fil-A, 91.6% accuracy, or McDonald's, 86.7% accuracy. you need to have a contingency for the missing 9%. You're not going to do it. And I had a situation this week where we made a mistake as a firm. And I impressed the realtor who I've known for 6 years. And she's like, it wasn't the fact you made a mistake. We're all going to make mistakes. It's how you handle the mistake.
Right. It's everything.
Yeah. And one of the things that you do talk about.
What was the mistake?
We had missed a permit for a wind mitigation. So we said the roof was 35 years old when it was 8.
Got it. Well, it's not a bad mistake to make.
Well,
because it swings the other way.
It costs the client money because they're not going to get the insurance credit.
But you could fix that, right?
It's a very fixable mistake. So, but basically, it's not how you make the mistake; it's how you fix the mistake. So that leads to basically another topic that you talk about in the book is if people are going to constantly like, here's your free dessert or here's your bag of flowers, you have to fix the underlying issue.
Right. And you can't just continue to throw stuff at it.
You can't use your MSR budget up over and over again because then you're going to get more issues popping up. You need to see why these issues are happening. Is there a pattern? And as a business owner, how can I fix the underlying issue so you can help trim that down? So instead of MSR, it's M.
I'm trying to think what chapter I actually put that in. I think it was around...
It was around the 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah, around I don't know what it was. It was a rebound sex maybe, or
it was
somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. But that's what's important about it. It's not as a business owner or in a relationship, it's not how you mess up. You're going to mess up. It's just what you do afterwards to not only make it right, but to prevent it from happening again.
Okay, so I know you read it, but let's talk about in the back. Oh, how much did I pay for my first house? Did you get that?
Again, we're with numbers, so those stick out more to me. I want to say $82,000.
Oh, look at you. All right. So I talk about the median net worth of a homeowner compared to the net worth of a renter. Did you catch that section?
Was that the $231,400?
Yeah, it's in the back of the book. I know it is. So we have to talk about this just because this is like my love language in real estate here. If I can find it in my own book, you can probably find it faster than me. I think it's around here. You totally can probably find it faster than me. I know it's around here.
I just skimmed the book. So, yeah, I mean, the net worth of a homeowner is going to be $231,400, whereas a renter...
That's actually from an older study in 2016.
Yeah. So it'd be more now because of the time value of money. So it's just important to realize, as you say in your foreword, both Dave Ramsey and Joe, can't pronounce his last name, Stump, both of them, they strive to be debt-free. They strive to have assets that increase their net worth. These are all positives. I mean, we have 2 active listings we can talk about right now.
We do.
That could actually increase your net worth.
So I can't even freaking find it in the book, but it's towards the back, and I know for a fact what I say is I cite a Federal Reserve study, I think from 2016, that talks about how the average net worth of a homeowner actually went up, and at that time it was around the $231,000, while the average net worth of a renter went down to under $5,000. So that's kind of like the point of the book, right? Being able to sustain long-term wealth, but I also talk about the 2-year millionaire plan. Did you see that?
Yeah, but I mean,
you're going to
have to sell a lot of $20 books to obtain the $2 million.
Not really. No, it's all in there.
Yeah.
We can help. All right, listen. Buy the book. Selling through relationships.
And speaking of the book, since there's a key point at the end, I do have some questions. I want to ask you about the 15% rule when we come back from the break.
Oh, sounds like fun.
But our guest is also here.
Yes, and we're going to talk to him.
And he doesn't have any wine with him, though.
New wine bar in town.
He doesn't have any wine with him.
We're going to talk about them. All right, maybe we can talk him into giving away a bottle of wine or something.
I've been answering a lot of questions, so I want to do the asking when we come back.
Okay, sounds like a plan. 813-377-2775. You got a question? We can add it into Leo's mix of questions he's going to be asking when we come back right after the break. 813-377-2775. This is Tampa Home Talk. And again, our off-air number is 813-377-2775. We'll be back right after this break. Stick around.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. Leo Kane here, Beryl Engineering and Inspection. I think I passed the Katrina test. So
you did pretty darn good. I'm impressed.
Did I miss any questions?
No, not really.
Then that's better shit to be
Not
more
really.
than pretty darn good.
You're darn
I'm
good.
rootin' tootin' good.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so one question for you. You talk about in the back of the book this 15%.
Yes.
And you need to take 15% of your money to have it making more money.
For
is
wealth
that
building. Yep.
How is that different than the 10% you're supposed to cut out of your budget and put towards a retirement?
So I think they're different personally.
So you're talking about take 10% and put it in a 401k.
Yeah, in a perfect
and
world.
then take 15%.
Yeah.
So you're talking about taking 25%.
In a perfect world, yes. But if I could only do one, I would still pick my 15% and put it into my wealth building account, which I have, and I only use that money for opportunity. So I can't spend that money on anything that's not going to make money.
I consider myself in playing PlayStation as an opportunity. So how can I tap into the 50?
Yeah, no. That's to
Clears
make
my
money.
mind?
It's got to be very clear cut how I'm going to make my money back.
Okay, so that's different than a 401k, which is basically a set and forget.
Think about it. I mean, look how volatile the market's been lately.
But can you achieve that only when you're debt free? Or can you achieve
No,
that?
you have to start with the number one premise, which is living below your means. So we were just talking about this with Shirley yesterday, with that being like the premise of the next book, because the irony is, she says here, if you're 51 and you went through a bad divorce and you have no money in retirement, no nothing, where do you start? And she said, and this is the sad part to me, really, right? Because I sell real estate for a living. I'm not a financial advisor, but literally she met with a financial advisor and they were just like, yeah, you're jacked pretty much. Like that was the answer they gave her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but I don't think that's so. I mean,
But
she's
no,
going to
that's
have
what they're
to.
going to tell you. That's what the financial people are going to tell you.
I think it's the wrong answer. So I think
it's the wrong answer because the ways that they use to make you money, it's that you can't use them. You have to use other means. You have to buy real estate. You have to form a business. You have to do things that. And I used to anger my financial planner a lot because I considered real estate part of the portfolio. They don't. Because they only consider in the portfolio what they make commission on.
Well, I had a whole conversation I actually fired a CPA once because I had travel expenses in my P&L. And she was like, what are you traveling for? You're a realtor. I said, you just don't get it. And then I asked her, I said, well,
why aren't you're a realtor? Why aren't you traveling?
Well, I asked her, I said, just a curious question to respond to yours. You do books for a lot of people. I imagine you have, other realtors that you do taxes for, right? She says, yeah. I said, well, how do their financials compare to mine? And she didn't say a word. She didn't say anything after that. And I was like, okay.
So now to completely segue, we have a guest.
We do.
And we have 5 minutes
He
to talk.
finally joined us. We weren't sure if he was going to come.
The Mario speed round of questions.
He's probably partying a little bit too long at the wine bar because you guys just got your permit, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So we're here with Victor Manuel, certified sommelier from La Vide, which is on Northdale.
Wine bar right by you, Pat. Literally right down the street.
Yeah. So are you officially open?
Yeah, we have kind of two concepts going on at the same time. We are a fine wine retailer specializing in Spanish and Portuguese wines and foodstuffs, olive oils and things like that. And then we also have a wine bar on the premise, which officially launches today. And we're super excited about that. The wines are all sought-after wines that have notoriety, and within the wine world, it has it's revered and well known. But maybe to the public, sometimes these wines kind of don't have the name or the presence in our everyday lives here.
I got to try some of their wine, which was pretty good.
So if you're going to open a Spanish wine, what are going to be some of your go-to? And I know it's different based on what food, but let's just say you can open any wine in your shop, Spanish or Portuguese. Which regions are you going to gravitate towards?
Well, there's primarily Rioja and Ribera del Duero historically have always had also the lion's share of the attention. However, there's a lot of other regions that are making wines and kind of maybe some areas that are within other denominations of origin that may not have the recognition just because they may be a regional wine, but they are producing some amazing wine. I would have to say It depends on my mood, really, because I think all wines serve a different purposes. I always compare it to like cars. There's all sorts of different cars. They are all means as a vehicle. Some are minivans, some are trucks, some are SUVs. But they all play
Some are
their own role.
electric?
Yeah, some are electric, exactly. And I think it has to do with the mood and what you've eaten, or if you are eating, if you're not eating. So there's a lot of stuff. As a wine professional, you tend to have a much more kind of generous palate.
Talk about a white versus red. Remember we were talking about that, and you're like, it drives me crazy the way Americans do white and red wines.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions too about the wines in general, like as in any other topic, especially with white wines. We tend to stick to certain varietals and order by varietals, which sometimes I think is a pitfall because you may be denying yourself of an amazing interaction with the wine because you may associate only a flavor with this one, but another grape can actually fulfill that kind of flavor profile that you want. And then in quality wines, we're drinking them too cold. And what that does is end up killing the aromatics, kills out the bouquet and especially if they have more complexity to them, they need to be a little bit more warmer than we're used to. You know, we're talking about at least between 50 and 60 degrees to really appreciate them.
But on the flip side of that, if I'm going to spend 30 to 45 minutes drinking a wine, I want it to start out too cold because I want it to warm up over the course of 45 minutes.
Absolutely, it's especially here in Florida. that is definitely important. And given that, it's totally understandable. But sometimes these wines are just absolutely too cold, and then we're drinking red wines way too warm as well. And that's another thing, especially the more alcohol they have, especially our stuff from California and things like that are going to have a higher ABV, really need to be chilled a little bit because they tend to have less acid, and then they fatigue the palate, and it becomes just heavy on there. But
so you guys super excited, like you just got your permit to come in and get some wine.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's kind of a dream come true. And it's I'm a Tampa local. I was born and raised here, and I really think it's important to have something like unique, locally owned, independently owned and operated in the area.
We're gonna have to take Mr. Pat George there to your wine bar at Pat. It's right down the street from your house.
Excellent. And we'd love to have everybody in there. And what I offer is a unique experience with super quality wines, and the price difference, there's really non-existent. I mean,
can we get a glass of wine for any of our listeners that come through? Can we give them a glass of wine on the house?
Yeah,
like if
why
they
not?
come in and
Yeah.
they mention
Like
Tampa Home Talk?
2-ounce sample of something.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
As long as they make it there in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, the other bird gets the worm kind of thing, right?
So Loveyd, right there by Chuck E. Cheese on Dale Mabry.
On Northdale.
And
No, on Dale Mabry, just south of Ehrlich Road.
Yeah.
So
right in the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this is Tampa Home Talk. Go see Loveyd. Stick around. We'll be back for hour number 2 in just a minute. Go.